Boom. Alright, what's up you guys? It's Royce Jacob. Welcome back to the channel. In this video, I want to talk to you about the single and very simple indicator that has led to a significant bounce in Bitcoin 100% of the time over the past 4 years. That indicator and or metric, as you already know based on the title of this video, is the Fear and Greed Index. If you've been tuned into the channel lately, you know we've been talking a lot about the Fear and Greed Index. There's so much emotion present in the markets right now that this index or this metric is more important than ever, and considering there's so much fear present in the markets, I'm sure you can imagine we are at a pretty fearful level. At the time of recording, Bitcoin is on the extremely fearful end of the extreme fear area of the Fear and Greed Index at a 9 out of 10. All right, it's very rare that we've seen single digits in the past. It's only happened a few times over the past 4 years. So we will be looking at this chart that tracks the Fear and Greed Index over the past 4 years. And I want to show you what's happened every single time Bitcoin has seen those single digits. All right, hint, hint. I'm sure you can imagine it is a bounce. Okay, so we'll kick it off with this, you guys. As we go over talking about the Fear and Greed Index, I do want to talk a little bit about what's been contributing to the fear. And primarily, it's the whole Terra Luna thing that's going on right now, the collapse of the stablecoin, the collapse of Terra as a project overall. I'm not going to talk at all about the specifics of this. I'm sure you guys have heard more than enough about this whole, just this whole crisis that's going on in crypto and the cloud that this project has created over the crypto space. First off, my condolences if you guys were invested in Terra. It's terrible what happened to anyone who's invested in this. Even if, the project, look, in retrospect, wasn't, there were so many potential flaws with it. No one expects for their investment to go to zero, although it's kind of a meme in the crypto space. It actually happened. It sucks. But again, you guys, it's this, and there's some other macro topics that I want to talk about. Inflation, just kind of what's going on in the overall financial markets, including the stock markets as well. That is contributing to a lot of the fear in the crypto space. So again, I just want to talk to you guys about the macro, a few of my thoughts around some of the primary macro headwinds that have caused for such a fearful environment. And we will cover the Fear and Greed Index for the stock market as well, or the S&P 500, because on Thursday that was actually at a 6, which is also a pretty unprecedented, like never before seen level for the S&P 500. And considering Bitcoin does hold a closer correlation to than ever to the S&P 500 and the NASDAQ, I feel it is important. And I also have some notes in this newsletter I wrote. This was actually on Thursday, just covering my thoughts on more the psychological side of why in this environment it's so important to gauge the Fear and Greed Index. Okay, so that's that, you guys. Those are all the fundamental topics we'll be covering, and then we have to cover some technicals as well. So we'll close out the video by jumping into the charts on good old Bitcoin. I'll let you guys know a few short to medium term scenarios that I personally see playing out for the King, for BTC, and I'll also let you know which of those scenarios I feel is most likely to play out myself. Okay, so that is the video, you guys. Before we dive into talking some fear and greed, some emotion, please give the video a like if you go on to gain value from it today. If you guys are buying the dip on your favorite crypto, give the video a like as well. Let me know in the comments, what crypto are you buying the most of? For me, personally, you guys know the drill. That is Render token. I'm backing up on these dips, and I'm pumped for what's to come. Considering if Bitcoin moves, it is pretty likely that some of these other altcoins, especially smaller ones like Render, are going to move exponentially greater than Bitcoin. Not guaranteeing that, of course, but that's just my thought there. But let me know in the comments down below what you guys are buying the most of right now. And of course, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. If you're not subscribed, if you're not part of the Waves fam, what are you doing? These are very, very exciting times, and you want to stay tuned and you want to stay in the loop. All right, so subscribe to the channel if you're not already. Let's dive into talking about the Fear and Greed Index. Once again, Bitcoin, just seeing what has happened over the span of, what is this, from May 6th to the low we saw on May 11th. Let's get a quick price range on that before jumping into the Fear and Greed Index. Falling off a cliff to that low we saw 35%, over 35% over the span of just a few days, okay, a few sessions. All right, so it's no surprise on top of all this, the Terra Luna scandal, of course, due to the fact that Terra as a project, they had They tried their best to save the stablecoin project, to save their algorithmic stablecoin. Didn't work. In order to do that, they had to liquidate the load of their Bitcoin position, because they were one of the largest holders of Bitcoin in the world. And again, you guys, that's kind of the danger of when there's whales out there. When there's whales in a pretty highly unregulated, such a liquid market like crypto, like again, Terra, one of the largest single Bitcoin holders in the world, one of the largest Bitcoin reserves in the entire world, had to liquidate and pretty much sell all their Bitcoin at market price. That means they flooded the market with tens of billions, if not hundreds of billions of dollars tens of billions of dollars of Bitcoin at market. So the entire market just had to eat up each one of those market orders for whatever anyone wanted to pay for it. Okay, that's why we saw such crazy dumps over the past few, over the sessions where this was a big deal. All right, so wrapping back, that's the last we're going to talk about that. Again, I don't want to talk much about this, but again, my condolences if you were a holder of Terra. I mean, if anyone who calls themselves a lunatic, yeah, you gotta get into some better projects, right? But anyway, for all that, definitely contributed to the Bitcoin sell-off. And again, you guys, when it comes to gauging potential fear and greed, there's really not much more that could create for a fearful environment, right? This on top of the markets crashing, on top of every freaking headline on CNBC and Bloomberg reading recession ahead, investors should sell. Obviously, like, there's not much more that can happen. The worst is likely behind us, okay? At least when it comes to shock value. And when it comes to markets, the markets now are more efficient than they've ever been in the past, which means that they're very, very good at pricing in future prospects, okay? And right now, inflation is high. Inflation is very likely peaked. I'll talk a little bit about that more tomorrow in tomorrow's video. Inflation is likely peaked. A lot of very, very reputable economists and macro analysts think inflation has peaked as well. And again, considering the S&P 500 saw levels of extreme fear, I mean, it's pretty likely that a bounce at the very least is in the cards, and we are objectively oversold. So Bitcoin, once again, in single digits on the very, very fearful end of the fear and greed index. Of extreme fear, it's extremely fearful, okay? So 9 out of 10. Let's take a look at this beautiful chart. Again, fear and greed index, courtesy of lookintobitcoin.com. Tracking the fear and greed index over the past 4 years, okay? So as you can see right now, boom. Date of recording, May 14th, 2022. Yep. Score of a 9. Let's take a look at all the times in the past we've seen single digits. Low over here, it's getting pretty dark. Nope, that's a 13. Over here, 19, 19. 15, we saw a 15 over here. That's pretty crazy, but definitely not single digits. Last time we saw single digits, last time we saw a 9. It's crazy to think that what we saw, but again, with all this going on, with everything happening, it's not surprising that the fear we're seeing now is comparable to the fear, that we saw during the pandemic. And it's even crazy that it's comparable to that, because I remember feeling this. That was way scarier than it is now. Now I feel excited because, again, now it's like so it's more, again, the uncertainty is behind us. All of the worst case scenarios, again, inflation, Russia, Ukraine creating, just global supply chain issues, whatnot, etc. The fact that the world potentially completely shutting down and where we're at now are the same is pretty crazy. But that's the last time we saw a 9. After we saw a 9, you guys can see what happened right there. We bounced back big. We went from $5,000 in price in, I wish there was a day, okay, March 16th to over 2xing just less than 2 months later on May 8th, okay? So, granted, do I think we'll 2x from here? Granted, do I think we're going to $60,000? Absolutely not. Do I think a bull market is reignited? Do I think we're heading for new all-time highs even in the next year? I do not personally. But do I think we could see a solid relief rally and find a nice stable range around like $35,000 to $40,000? I absolutely think that could happen. Okay, so again, Black Swan event, pandemic hit, March of 2020. The time before that we saw it was, where is it? So that's an 11. That's about as low as it got. We didn't even see single digits way back in 2018. I don't know if you guys were around for that, but the stock market crashed. I remember that took probably the biggest hole in my portfolio that I've ever experienced in my like decade-long year of trading was that 2018, late 2018, early 2019 kind of collapse in the equity markets, which of course bled over to the Bitcoin market. Bitcoin was sitting at $3,200, which is crazy with the score of 11. But the last time we saw single digits on this chart, so only 3 times, one of which is today at the time of recording, was at the beginning of this chart. In February of 2018, Bitcoin saw a score of an 8, which again is, I mean, it doesn't really get that much lower than that. Bitcoin $6,800, February 6th of 2018, it saw an 8, and immediately after that, you can see that we went from $6,800 just, I mean, a month or so later, not even a month later, what was that, February? So February 9th to February 20th, so just call it 2 weeks to be generous. We saw almost a 2x there because it went from, well, I keep forgetting. So what, 6,800 to over $10,000 to almost $11,000. Okay, so again, you guys, do I think a 2x is in the cards from here? I don't, but do I think we can find some nice stability around $35,000 to $40,000 in retest? Again, you guys, just looking at this kind of this previous low over here, which does come into play with some of my other ranges and other just trend lines. I absolutely think that's possible, and I think that's the most likely, just to spoil the end for you guys. But again, I want to talk a little bit about the equity markets and my thoughts around the equity markets, because considering once again Bitcoin holds such a tight correlation, tighter than ever, to the S&P and NASDAQ. Again, correlated means that they act in unison. I feel this is important to touch. So again, this is the newsletter I sent out to the portfolio newsletter fam on Thursday when the markets were in shambles. Coinbase down 50%, whatever, and the tech sector is just getting obliterated. But hey, we took advantage. Let's read it. Let's read this, and it paid off big. Another day in May. Another batch of retail investors getting scared away. If you're still in the game and if you're still putting in the time, then you deserve to be here. I can tell you firsthand that there are many who did not make it. If you're reading this, you have my respect. If you happen to watch yesterday's video, so again, the video is funny. The video I posted right before this, Fear and Greed Index, was, I mean, definitely not at these levels, and I was like, I think we need to see some teens, and the day after it went down to single digits. So that is fearful, and again, that's why I took advantage personally. Brought up the S&P 500 Fear and Greed Index. I'd be extremely surprised to see single digits, but only a day later we saw it by scrolling. By scrolling through market-related comments, engaging the sentiment amongst retail Joes, talking just like my YouTube comments I see in my peers' videos and stuff. Passive investors who only dabble in the markets. The common belief seems to be that things will just keep falling further. And again, when the retail Joe says that, when you look in the comments and everyone's like, damn, dude, you don't know what you're talking about. Things are just going to keep falling further, because I said how bounces for sure in order. Things are just going to keep going down. The sky is falling. When retail Joes are saying that, unfortunately, the far majority of the time, the retail Joe is the bag holder. Okay? So, again, that's the cruel nature of this game. But, hey, that's the game, and that's why the longer you play, the more wealthy and the more veteran you become in reading these situations and being able to act rationally during times of emotion. I know it's hard for average investors not to think emotionally at a time like this, but who can blame them with all of the catastrophic and fear-inducing headlines out there? I just kind of ranted those off when I was talking about all the macros. These headlines are inevitably a massive contributor to why the Fear and Greed Index is sitting at a mind-blowing 6. Boom, right here. I'll keep sharing this quote for as long as I feel necessary, and today it is arguably more necessary than ever. Oracle of Omaha: be fearful when the markets get greedy, greedy when the markets get fearful. Right now, again, Bitcoin is at, and even as I write this, the whole market is kind of starting to rip back. Bitcoin, I mean, you can see everything starting to bounce back now, which is super exciting, and you'll love to see that. So it feels good to see that. Yeah, considering we're in a 9 Fear and Greed, every time over the past 4 years we've seen single digits, it has been immediately followed by a very, very significant relief rally. So it is just irrational not to believe that now that we've seen a 9, we're sitting at a 9, that a significant relief rally is about to follow this, okay? So, you guys, if you want to know, and again, this past week, the Waves fam, cheers to you guys if you've been playing it with me. Could not have played it any better. Steak and sushi is in the cards tonight. I'll talk more about this newsletter in tomorrow's Sunday Stock Watch. But you guys, if you want to join the fam, the trades have been on fire. I feel zero guilt. Actually, I mean, do a new service by plugging the newsletter, the complete portfolio, my personal portfolio, complete breakdown of my entire personal portfolio, along with that daily newsletter. Put a lot of time into this, and again, it has proven to be extremely lucrative. And again, just proud of not only myself, but all of you guys for, just having a freaking great week. So if you guys want that, if you guys want my daily newsletter, been slowing it down with the videos a little bit, but hey, more time to put into these newsletters, more mental energy for that. $15 a month, $40 every 3 months. First link down below. Give it a shot. I feel it's worth it. And this past week in itself paid off that newsletter sub many times over, even if you're just investing a little bit. Okay, so give it a shot. You don't like it, just unsubscribe. That's all good. But again, if you want to join the next tier up, if you want to level up your investing game, check out the first link down below. Okay, so that's how you guys plug out of the way. Let's close out the video by talking Bitcoin. Again, the whole market rebounding a little bit right now, looking good. So what I feel is most likely to happen for Bitcoin, given the fact that we did break the significant line of short-term resistance, again, following that big sell-off. Fear and greed is at a 9. 4-hour Stokes are now curling to the upside, once again above the exponential moving average on the regular RSI, stochastic RSI. I meant curling to the upside, blue over red. All of these are very good short to medium-term indicators, okay? So, again, everyone's be greedy when everyone's fearful. It's looking like right now we have reversed. We are beginning to set a series of higher highs and higher lows in the short term, following the break of that short term resistance right there, of that downtrend. So I do think it's actually likely that at the very least we come up over the next few days up to at least 32 to 33,000, maybe just under 33K, because that was Bitcoin's previous low. If we zoom out, sorry, this is going to look terrible, but you can see, this was Bitcoin's previous low over here back in January of this year, was at 32,000. Okay, so previous lows, previous floors become new ceilings, vice versa. And I do think this will come into play. So I think short term will probably come up, bounce up to about just under $33,000, come down, maybe retest this $31,000 area. But over the beginning of next trading week, so talking Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, I do think we will be testing this previous line of support right here as new resistance. Again, previous support, new resistance, vice versa. Same there with TA 101. I do think we will be testing previous resistance on Bitcoin's prior channel prior to breaking below that and just absolutely selling off. That would take us to about $35,000. Which again was a nice floor here before that big sell-off as well. $35,000 on May 20th might be a little far out, but hey, May 20th, let's just say just under a week from now, $35,000 by May 20th. I think we'll see that. But again, after we test this, I do think range trading is in the cards for quite a while. I do not think that, again, all-time highs, very unlikely given the macro. The macro is still bearish. So I want to make that very clear, but I do think a significant relief rally is in order. Let's take a quick price range on that. So from current levels, we're at just under 30K, obviously to 35K. You're looking at a nice 20% bounce in the case that that does play out over the coming week. Okay, so that's my thought there. Again, we will cover some steak and sushi, talking the equity markets tomorrow, Sunday stock watch. So again, subscribe to the channel if you're not already. I appreciate you guys watching. And again, if you guys want to know how I'm trading on a day-to-day basis, when I'm buying these dips, how I'm trading my options, how I'm trading my share positions, literally everything, along with that daily newsletter, first link down below. Appreciate you guys if you check that out, being a real one. And again, if not, no worries. I will catch you guys downstairs. And again, close it out with some words of the wise right here. Be greedy when the markets get fearful. And again, let me know in the comments down below what you guys are buying on this flash sale. Okay, so I'll talk to you guys downstairs. Until next time, always remember, take action, make waves. Peace.